Let's talk to the head of Young Voices UK, Jason Reed. Hi, Jason.
Good evening, Kevin.
What on earth is the First Minister of Scotland talking about? I mean, she says, oh, it could be years, 6 years, I think she mentioned at one point. Well, suppose the COVID crisis is over in 6 months. Does she just want Scottish people to wear masks just because she likes giving them orders and likes having them obey them?
It does seem that way. It's an absolutely incredible statement from Nicola Sturgeon. She said she's been talking for so long about learning to live with COVID, and she revealed for the first time in an interview that what she actually meant by learning to live with COVID was learning to live with all kinds of COVID restrictions, such as mask wearing, and no doubt all kinds of other restrictions that she's planning to keep in place for as long as she can stay in office, presumably. I like the fact that she's come out and predicted this as if she's some super forecaster of what's going to happen in Scottish politics. She's the one with the power to stop this from happening. So what we've learned from this statement is that she doesn't care about mask mandates. She doesn't care about civil liberties. She doesn't care about rolling back harmful restrictions as quickly as she possibly can. She's fine with just keeping them for as long as she fancies, and to hell with the consequences.
I keep making the point, Jason, until I'm blue in the face, that it was mid-October when in Scotland and in Wales they brought in this accursed vaccine passport scheme whereby you can't get into football matches or nightclubs or theatres or cinemas without proof of double jab. You have to have your health papers to get in. Now, 3 months on from these magnificent triumphant policies, Wales has an infection rate of 3 times higher, a COVID infection rate 3 times higher than England, where until recently we have not had COVID passports. Scotland last week recorded their highest ever number of COVID cases in a single day, something over 20,000. So we have it there. It's cast iron proof. Vaccine passports do not work. Why the hell has Boris imposed them on England?
It's interesting, isn't it, that all these rampant lockdown enthusiasts like Mark Drakeford in Wales and like Nicola Sturgeon in Scotland, they like to talk about how we need to follow the science and how we need evidence-based policy. But when you actually look at the evidence, it just always seems to show that their approach is the wrong one, and yet they persist with it anyway. In a similar vein to that, Nicola Sturgeon was trying to bolster her credibility when it comes to COVID restrictions by talking about the great success of her restrictions that she implemented on Boxing Day over Hogmanay. And
They have not been a success, though, Jason.
Exactly, they've not. This
They've
is exactly
failed.
the point. That they've Scottish infection rates and hospitalization rates are much, much higher than England's, and England had far fewer restrictions. So if that's the basis on which she's saying we need to keep mask mandates for 6 years, then there's no basis to it at all. There's no science behind it.
She neglects to sort of wonder whether or not the COVID crisis will still be around in 6 years. I'd put money on the fact that it won't be, but she just sort of blandly said, yeah, years, put a mask on because I said so. And that's what we're talking about here, aren't we? With Drakeford, he's Jeremy Corbyn's best friend, enough said, left-wing Labour guy. We've got lefty Nicola, head of the SNP, a very left-wing party, probably even more left-wing than the Labour Party. This is their big state dream, the COVID crisis, so they can instigate big nanny state rules which are superior, which preside over the rights to individual freedom. That's what's going on. These people, they like the state to be in control of individuals, and this COVID crisis has given them the conduit via which they can impose draconian restrictions on individual liberty, and this for them is a kind of heaven.
We are at a really important turning point, I think, in terms of civil liberties in Britain, where we have to decide as a nation whether we are willing to continue allowing those who govern us, like Nicola Sturgeon, to decide on a whim, yes, you need to wear a mask for the next 6 years, or whether we're going to say the pandemic, all the mistakes were made, but let's put it behind us. It was a once in a generation event, and all those were exceptional decisions. And so now we're going to go back to normal. But the risk is that this is becoming the new normal, and we're seeing it seeping through all kinds of areas of government. We've already seen it seep into other areas of public health policy, like obesity. The government, various governments around Britain and around the world are so eager, they can't resist the temptation to use all these new powers they've acquired over the last 2 years during the pandemic in all kinds of other ways, and to try to solidify them and keep them in place because they don't want to give up that authority, because exactly as you say, it's the nanny state. They look down on ordinary people. They look down on you and me. They think we're plebs and we need to be told what to do and how to keep ourselves healthy. Otherwise, we'll have no idea what we're doing. But that's just not how society works. It never has been. If you leave the gate to the lion enclosure open at the zoo, we don't all run in and have a picnic. We're adults. We can take care of ourselves. We can decide whether to wear a mask or not. We don't need the government nannying us.
Boris and his friends might run in and have a quick cheese and wine party. You never know. When will Nicola and Mark and also Boris Johnson, when will they return to us? If you look at the statistics of the COVID crisis, the direction of travel is all in the right direction. Omicron clearly is the mild virus we've all been waiting for. When will these people, these leaders of our countries, return to us, the individuals, the right to make our own choices about our own health and our own lives?
It's looking like they never will return to us because they've become so addicted to this drip feed of doom mongering from the scientific advisory groups, from the medical professionals who are completely averse to risk and think that we all need to live in reinforced bunkers in case we ever expose ourselves to any germ or any virus of any kind, and that all other considerations, economic considerations, social ones, our mental health, all of that can go out the window for the sake of our immediate medical well-being. And the politicians are so enamored with this worldview. There's no economic advisory group for emergencies. Instead, we just have the scientific advisory group for emergencies, which is SAGE, and they just keep producing these appalling forecasts of apocalypse just around the corner, and the government can't seem to wean itself off that.
Well, you and me, Jason, and every citizen of this country, we've got to realise that we make the decisions about our lives, not the state, so we need to get back to that as soon as possible. Great to talk to you as always, Jason. That's Jason Reed from the Young Voices UK organisation.